All right, the sides are drawn. The drama is getting intense. Let's talk about Bad Monkey Season 1, Episode 7, A Total Cat Person. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Bad Monkey Season 1, Episode 7, A Total Cat Person, which is coming to Apple TV Plus on September 18, 2024. There's a seventh episode in this season. This season has gotten better and better. It started fun, but not as exciting as I expected it to be, but it has gotten much better throughout, and this episode was no exception. My hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. It feels like an episode that is getting everything together for a bigger finale with some drama, some sides being drawn, and a cliffhanger ending. I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this entire series, and it's just been getting better. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the episode, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there'll be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this episode, and you might not, there are some surprises and a big cliffhanger ending. I would turn off when I get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. Let's try to get to those spoilers. So in Bad Monkey Season 1, Episode 7, you have the continuation of what happened at the last episode. Remember, Bonnie's on the run again. She ran away from the Yancey cabin when she realized that, she had kind of hurt Cody and it made her feel really bad. So she decided to just keep running. And the big conclusion was the Dragon Queen got some sort of kidnapped. A bag went over her head. We don't know who. We don't know why. We find out in this episode. So things I liked about this episode. The first, I like kind of choosing sides. It feels like some of the people are starting to align more. It feels like we are getting some distinct sides being drawn. And so I imagine that will lead to a very, very fun last few episodes as these sides come to clash. I mean, not in, like an actual fight, maybe in an actual fight actually, but there is going to be some conflict between them. Second thing I love the drama. There is a lot of drama here, especially on the island. In line with like people choosing sides, there is definitely some drama bubbling up on the island that I think is going to be really fun to see in the next few episodes. And the last thing I love Eve's emergence. Eve has kind of always been a strong character, but it feels like she is, mostly been a manipulator of Christopher. In this one, she feels like she really kind of comes into her own and is doing a lot more to make her dreams come true, regardless of what that means. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much. There's really only one. There was a very abrupt character change. I don't really love that character anyways, but that character had a very abrupt change, in personality that felt a little bit convenient. So I'll go into that later. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this episode. I still really enjoy this episode. So I definitely think you should check out Bad Monkey. Season 1, Episode 7 comes to Apple TV Plus on September 18, 2024. If you haven't started this series, definitely watch, definitely catch up. It is getting really, really good. It's been kind of enjoyable throughout, and it's only getting better. So if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear. And I'm going to go into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So there are kind of three distinct storylines in this episode. I'm going to just go Dragon Queen, kind of Bonnie area, and then Yancey. Those are the three main buckets. So we'll first do Dragon Queen. So at the end of the last episode, the Dragon Queen was kidnapped, and we find out who kidnapped her. It's Christopher. And I didn't know how. I was almost certain. I went back and rewatched her kidnapping a couple times, and I was almost certain it was a right arm that was putting the thing over her head. Could have been left arm. Maybe I was just mistaken, but it looked like a right arm. Hey, look, if Christopher did it, it must have been the left arm. But apparently Christopher put the bag over her head, kidnapped her. I don't know how he could do that. He also apparently got her in the trunk. I don't know how you could do that with one arm, with a person who presumably would be fighting back. Maybe she didn't fight back. Maybe she thought he had a gun, so she just complied. But somehow Christopher got a bag over her head, put her in the trunk of the car, and drove her into the night to meet up with Eve. And when the Dragon Queen emerges from the trunk, Eve is there, and she, pretends to shoot her to be like, look, this is how easy it could be. But eventually she decides to make a deal with the Dragon Queen. She thinks that they could be useful to each other, so she wants to work with the Dragon Queen. And then after this, Eve lets her go. The Dragon Queen thinks it over, and she meets up with Eve, and Eve essentially puts her on her payroll. She gives her $50,000 for a deposit on her property. And essentially the Dragon Queen is going to help Eve and Christopher get what they want, help keep the locals in line, that kind of thing. So Dragon Queen uses this money pretty quickly. She buys Yaya a scooter to try to get on Yaya's good side. Yaya's hip is been hurting her, and so now with a motorized scooter, she can kind of move a little easier. Yaya seems very happy. She seems excited. Remember, she thinks that the Dragon Queen was gifted this land, and now the Dragon Queen is selling this land to make their lives better. The Dragon Queen says we could also use the money to help people who can't pay for our services, and Yaya seems pretty happy about this. Now, meanwhile, Christopher is still bummed about how he left Caitlin back in the States. He is trying to repair the relationship. He's trying to text her to see how she's doing. Caitlin doesn't seem to be responsive. She texts him a very crude response. So this is bumming Christopher out, and it's making Eve annoyed. Now, one of the Dragon Queen's friends, Asia, notices a kind of a change in her. After the Dragon Queen accepts this money, she seems to get a little bit more defensive. Asia goes up and talks to her about the land, and one of the workers at Asia's shop is the person that did not like the Dragon Queen getting the land. She thought that the Dragon Queen scammed them, and so she tries to talk to her about this, and the Dragon Queen basically just shuts her down. So Asia notices this change in her friend, and so she goes to talk to Yaya and tries to raise this with Yaya, and Yaya also shuts her down, but I think Yaya has had a concern about this from the start, and now we see that she has a real concern because she searches their place and she finds that piece of paper that had all the practice signatures on it that the Dragon Queen used before she signed the fake deed. So this definitely concerns Yaya. Later, Yaya confronts the Dragon Queen and says they need to give the land back. When the Dragon Queen yells at her, she says basically like that she doesn't believe in all this mumbo jumbo. She doesn't believe in these powers and these curses, and she says like curses. I guess I don't know, maybe that's her accent. Anyways, and she thinks that they are just like taking foolish people's money. And Yaya's upset about this. And Yaya clearly has some sort of powers. Because remember, she knew that Neville would need that boat. And so, way back in a few episodes, she pushed a boat into the water, knowing it would float to Neville and that Neville would need it at that specific time to get away from Egg. And so, Yaya has clearly some powers. It feels like the Dragon Queen does too, even though she doesn't believe it. And Yaya thinks that she has powers. So, Yaya is upset with all of this, but this causes a rift between Yaya and the Dragon Queen. Dragon Queen is basically like, I don't want to live this life. I don't want to be on this island. I want to get out of here. That's part of why she's selling the money. She wants an easier life. And so she and Yaya kind of like break after this. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see what happens. But that is like the Dragon Queen's arc. The second arc is Bonnie. So, and this is kind of tangentially related to Bonnie. Over at the Yancey cabin, Cody is still there. Cody is there with Jim. Jim doesn't want Cody there anymore, but Cody is a kid. He doesn't really know what to do. He's like, oh, maybe I should take the car. But then Bonnie has the car keys. He can't do that. So he's just like hanging out with Jim right now. Bonnie, meanwhile, tried to escape on an airboat. The airboat didn't have much gas in it, so she didn't get very far. And so she trying to figure out what to do, and she ends up going to Yancey's house. And she's there when Yancey comes by a little bit later, and Yancey basically like tells her that she needs to come clean. Like she could keep running, but she's not going to feel any better. The only way she's going to feel better is if she like gets this burden off of her chest. Bonnie thinks it over. I think she's tired of running. She's tired of changing lifestyles and whatnot. So she goes to her storage unit to think it over, be with her books. And when she gets in there, she sees a camera that was set up by the detective trying to find her. And so when she sees this, she kind of makes a split-second decision to turn herself in. So she just like talks to the camera. Unfortunately, the camera didn't have audio, but she talks to the camera. And when the officer sees her, she goes to pick her up. She gets there. Bonnie is sitting out front of the storage unit, ready to go. She thinks it'll be like a girls' trip, and the officer's like, "No, this is not a girls' trip. You're getting arrested." So she arrests Bonnie, throws in the car, and they head back to Oklahoma. We'll see if they get there. We'll see what happens with Bonnie. Now, on the Yancey front, Yancey and Roe are on a stakeout to try to get Mendez. Remember, Mendez ran after Roe found out that he tried to manipulate evidence to make sure that Yancey got arrested. So Mendez ran out of the police station, is on the run right now, but Yancey has a hunch. Mendez's cat is at the vet, and so Yancey knows that Mendez loves his cat more than everything, so he is staking out this vet knowing that Mendez is going to get there. Eventually, Mendez does. They arrest him, but when they throw him in the car, he finds that unicorn headband that Yancey had given to Rose's daughter all that time ago. She lost it. It was in the car. Mendez finds it, picks his handcuff locks, and is able to grab Rose's gun and kind of like get in a fight with him. Now, the gun goes off a few times and it hits Roe in the leg. Mendez goes running. Yancey pursues him into like a parking lot where they have a standoff. And eventually, who would come to the rescue but Donald, the security guard who was watching Nick Strickland's company? He got fired after Yancey kind of threw him for a loop, and so now he is working at this parking lot. So he pulls a gun on Mendez. They have a standoff. Unfortunately, Donald is a little bit inexperienced, so Mendez eventually shoots Donald in the arm. But during this time, Yancey's able to get the jump on Mendez and shoots him and arrests him. So Rosa, meanwhile, gets Neville, who stowed away on that drug plane in the last episode, fell out, recognized Rosa, but he had been shot by Egg, and so he had lost a lot of blood. Rosa's able to get Neville patched up, and Neville tells him everything about Christopher and Nick, and he even gets a picture of Nick Strickland from the islands. One of his friends takes a picture, sends it to them. So now they know that Nick is alive. They know that Nick is Christopher, and so Yancey's report can be complete. And he has a witness. He has a witness to this stuff, so it'll help his overall report. Now Yancey uses all of this to write up a full report on the case and gives it to Sonny. And Sonny is like very nice to Yancey, which I thought was weird. Like Sonny was a jerk earlier. And I guess that was because Yancey was making his life difficult. Now maybe Yancey's not making his life difficult, so he's turned, but he kind of turned instantly. You would think Sonny would have had Yancey's back a little bit, and he didn't. And now that Yancey like gives him this report, Yancey's like, "Oh, well, let's get my job back." And Sonny's like, "I don't see why it wouldn't," which felt like a very quick turn of character for him. I guess he did give Yancey that like food inspector job, which felt a little bit insulting, but maybe that is what Sonny could do in the situation to try to get him back on the force. But it feels like Sonny just has like a very abrupt turn and is now like all in Yancey's corner. Maybe that's how he is. Maybe that's how he has curried favor and gotten to this gotten to be a sheriff. I don't know. And so now that Yancey's trying to get back to work, Rosa also goes back to work, but she doesn't love her job anymore. She gets there ready to do an autopsy and she just doesn't love it. Maybe she likes being around living people. Maybe she likes the excitement of detective work. Maybe she just wants to change. I don't know. But she ends up just like bouncing. So I don't know. I don't know how long Rose is going to be employed because she has like left for a while, gets back to work, and then just straight up bounces right after. So we'll see what happens. Now, after Yancey turns in this report, Sonny calls him a bit later and tells him to come meet, and they meet with the FBI. And two agents are there, and also this person named Director Rhodes. And the FBI believes him. They think that Nick Strickland killed those people. They think that he is doing all this fraud for money, but they want to make sure to recover the fraudulent insurance money. And so they basically say like, that's going to take some time. We can't extradite him immediately. And Nancy's like, what are you talking about? He's hurting people. Like, you got to get him now. And they're like, we understand. We appreciate that. It's not happening now. So Nancy's like, well, what if I go out there and like try to get him? And they're like, essentially, you'll lose your job because Yancey had just gotten his job back at this meeting with the FBI because the FBI believed him. Sonny had given him his gun and badge back. So Yancey was a detective now. Now he is Detective Yancey. And they basically say, if you pursue this, you will now be Mr. Yancey. So we will see. Will Yancey finally get in line and not risk it all? I don't think so. I think he probably will, but we'll find out. So later, after these bad days by both Yancey and Rosa, Yancey and Rosa are hanging out at Yancey's place, and they are relaxing, talking about their day, and all of a sudden, who barges in but Jim, Yancey's dad, and Cody. I guess Jim got sick of Cody. He came to return Cody to at least Yancey, because Yancey's the closest connection he has. And when he gets there, he meets Rosa. So now Rosa's met the family. Looks like their relationship is flowering. But will it be short-lived? Because after this, we see outside a bunch of people, at least 3 people with what looks like AK-47s outside Yancey's house. And that is how this episode ends. So what does that mean? Well, if they have AK-47s, they're probably not like SWAT officers. SWAT officers would probably have, more like AR type rifles or something like that. But so who are these people? I don't know. They could be sent by Eve to get rid of Yancey. Maybe. That seems like a escalation, though. Eve hasn't really had that type of firepower before. She's always sent Christopher to do it. So we'll see. Maybe there are other connections now that she can tap into, and she's trying to get rid of Yancey. I think maybe they're like attacking the neighbor because the neighbor's losing money. The neighbor's trying to sell this house, but it seems like he, is hemorrhaging money. He seems like he took out too much to build this house and is now like in trouble trying to keep it maintained. So I think maybe they might be coming to like get justice on the neighbor. Maybe it's like, maybe he took it out from like a cartel to get it built. Maybe that's how he used some favors to like get it built outside of code. And maybe now they are coming to exact their revenge. That's my guess. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next episode, but that's just kind of like my rough guess. Because they didn't surround Yancey's house. They all went past his door, but they all seem to like go past his door. So we'll see. Who knows? I was wrong last time about who kidnapped the Dragon Queen, so I'll probably be wrong about this one. What's going to happen on the island? Well, the Dragon Queen has aligned herself with Egg and Christopher and Eve. I don't think that's going to work out well for her. I imagine she will probably do this until she has a change of heart at some point, remembers that she is a good person inside, and does the right thing. When will that be? And what will cause it? Who knows? My guess is it'll probably involve Neville and or Driggs. We will see. And what's going to happen with Bonnie? Well, she is going back to prison. I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe Cody's going to try to stop the detective. Maybe this is just Bonnie's swan song. I don't think so. I feel like she's going to come back at some point, but for now, she is arrested and going to Oklahoma. So that is episode 7 of Bad Monkey. Like I said, I liked it a lot. I definitely think you should watch it. Definitely get on this train if you haven't started yet, because it's really, really good. It's only probably going to get better. So check it out. After you see it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you like and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.